And we are here at the Resolution Games booth with Jim Squires.
I almost messed it up on the get-go.
Almost messing up on the get-go, but we're checking out Demeo, and I'll be honest with you,
Their booth is on fire, man.
stealing a bit of the show. But before we get into it, Jim, do you mind to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Resolution Games?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I am Jim Squires, and thank you for pronouncing it right. I am the Director of Games PR here at Resolution Games. It is my job to help players find out about us through media, essentially. So I want to make sure that wherever you are reading, watching, whatever, they know about our great games like Demeo or Ultimax or Spatial Ops. They're talking about them so that you can hear about them.
So basically, he's got the dream job you'd want to have at any good tech company.
Well, if you ask me, judging by the reception, the amount of people stopping here, it looks like Jim's doing a damn good job at what he does, too.
Yeah.
But let's be real, when a game's as good as Demeo, it's pretty easy to spread the word.
All you got to do is show up and turn the lights on. That's always been my opinion with it. At this point, it's taken, to me, from where it was, I feel like this game is really taking on a life of its own.
And it looks like you have a couple different play test setups going on. So do you mind to tell us, what you got going on here between the computers, the Quest, the PSVR?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know, Demeo is on a bunch of platforms nowadays. We're kind of slowly taking over the world, which is great. We started in VR, and so I think initially it was Quest and Steam, but last year at this time at PAX East, we rolled out Demeo PC Edition, so that would let folks cross-play. So we have that here as well. I'm trying to think what we have here. We have a lot here and then a lot not here, so we're kind of all over the place with Demeo. We have PC Edition playable. We have Quest 2 units playable. We have PSVR 2 playable, which is so exciting. We were part of the launch library around that. In addition to PSVR 2, I'm just trying to think what I missed here. We also are playable on PS5 nowadays. So if you have friends who have not taken the plunge on both pieces of hardware, they've just got the PS5, they can jump in and join you on any platform. We're on Pico headsets nowadays. We're kind of all over the place. It's been great fun to be able to get everyone to come together and play no matter where they are. Crossplay is the best thing in the world, and I'm so glad we get to lean into it.
I think as a whole, they're crushing it.
Yeah, and you guys are split a little 50-50 this weekend. I see a crew here at PAX East, a crew over at GDC. I know you don't have it set up here, but I saw for GDC you guys were testing out Spatial Ops, a new mixed reality game.
I was kind of hoping that the two conventions would not be going on because I was praying it would come here.
Yeah. Well, it looks like there's some savages that are going right from GDC to PAX East.
Oh, yeah, I saw the people flying in.
But do you mind to tell our listeners a little bit about what Spatial Ops is and kind of the joys of mixed reality?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be very excited to. And in fact, just as a footnote before we kick it off, if you are a fan of mixed reality or you want to explore that, we do offer it in Demeo on Quest now. There is pass-through mode you can flip on, so you can snap the Demeo board to any table or any surface in front of you. You are rolling the dice, and they're like bouncing off the table and onto the floor. It's super, super cool. And later this year on Quest devices, Quest 2 and Quest Pro, we are adding to that. We're expanding our mixed reality presence. We are bringing a hand tracking mode. So you will finally, and I think this has been the most requested thing, you will finally be picking up your miniatures with your hand, physically rolling the dice with your hand. It feels so good. I've had the chance to play it in beta as we're building it slowly but surely. I don't have a date on it yet, but definitely this year it's coming. So very, very exciting. But that being said, you didn't even ask me about Demeo, so I should be a better interviewee.
I think plugging Demeo is perfect.
Yeah. In fairness, I am not at the Spatial Ops booth in San Francisco. I got to stay in my own time zone this week, so I feel great. But yes, you are absolutely right. At GDC, we are showing off Spatial Ops as well as Demeo there. Spatial Ops it's going to get a little complicated. I'm going to try to make it as easy as I can because we're almost at the start of a choose your own adventure right now in this conversation. So, Spatial Ops is two things right now. There is a version of Spatial Ops that launched in open beta on SideQuest in December. It is very cool. It is a little bit like, imagine combining the physical experience of like laser tag or paintball with the digital experience of Counter-Strike or Call of Duty. That's Spatial Ops as it exists in open beta today. Okay? You're running around with 8 of your friends in your home. Your furniture is like accounted for. You're also adding virtual like boxes and things. You're throwing grenades. Right? It is so cool. However, we are at the dawn of mixed reality. Mixed reality is, I don't want to say the future. That's a big stretch, but it's definitely the now. I feel like we are right now in mixed reality where we were in VR in like 2015. Right? It's such a cool pioneering moment of what is play going to look like? What sort of fun things are we going to build, right? So we put one thing out in Spatial Ops. People love it, but we have heard from folks, it's really hard to get a bunch of people with headsets together to play this in my home. Or like, I live in a studio apartment. I don't have a ton of space for this. What can we do? So at GDC, and this is really what I should be spending more time talking about because it's really cool. We have a whole new Spatial Ops prototype that it is only playable at GDC at this point. I do not have further plans I can confirm for you guys, but fingers crossed, hopefully we'll get more folks playing it in some way. It is designed for smaller spaces, smaller groups, 2 folks in the same house. What happens is you create a portal wall on one of your spaces. So I know I'm pointing at a wall that may be off camera right now, but if you were to take this wall, scan the whole thing in, that is now going to become this deep immersive virtual wall that bad guys are in, shooting out from that into your real space. They're throwing grenades at you. You're catching them, throwing them back into the wall. They are running out at you into your living room, and you've got to deal with them, right? It is the coolest thing I have seen in MR yet. In fairness, I work for the company, but it's such a new, unique, emerging space, right? I don't know where Spatial Ops is going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, if we keep playing with this stuff. It's super, super cool. So that's kind of what we are showing at GDC this week. We've heard great feedback from folks on the show floor, the sort of feedback you really want to hear from an experiment like this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I was going to ask if I missed anything, Amber, but you haven't been behind me the whole time. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, that is Spatial Ops right now. But yeah, I mean, mixed reality in general is just such an exciting spot.
That's awesome. So
I got excited just because I know the way that these get done and they're pulled off, it's going to be pretty damn convincing. Well, I would imagine the anxiety level goes up a lot when you got things coming out of your wall.
Yeah. Well, and I can, let's look at where Demeo was when the game launched. With one adventure at this point, it's numerous adventures, so many more classes, new items. So
very difficult.
I have a feeling however Spatial Ops launches, in 2 years it's going to be an even better game, So I understand, sometimes it's
resolution's behind it.
Oh,
yeah,
my goodness.
I've got no doubts.
Yeah. We still see updates to like bait, when or cookout, that kind of stuff. We still see updates there. So I understand if you can't talk about this, but on the topic of stuff coming, we mentioned Demeo, it's yet to be abandoned. Has the books closed? Are adventures done? Have we seen the end of adventures, or can we expect to see more adventures in the coming years?
So the short answer is, we haven't announced anything about upcoming adventures right now. However, Demeo is, as a brand, as a property, as something like say Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer or whatever, we feel really strongly about Demeo. We think that there's so much love for this brand, we would be crazy to not do more with it. So what we have coming up this year that I can talk about is Demeo Battles. Have you guys heard about Demeo Battles?
A little bit. It's like a PvP mode, right?
It is PvP. We are bringing PvP to the Demeo universe. So imagine you're still, you're taking all the strategy, all the skill that you've built up playing Demeo, right? You are now going head-to-head against another player, or even 2 players, because it's 2-player characters versus 2-player characters is what you're going to see in this game, okay? You are raising up an army of monsters, and so they are the monsters are going to have their own monster behaviors. They've always had them. You've gotten to know them, right? So you're gonna pick the right monsters. You're going to go out there with them. You're going to kick butt. It is in the same way that Demeo recreates that 2 to 3 hour game night experience, the cooperative fun of a miniatures board game. Demeo Battles. Have you heard of Demeo before? My favorite question. Sorry. In the same way it does that for the co-op experience, Demeo Battles is more about recreating that 10 to 20 minute miniatures battle game, the head-to-head. I keep comparing the timeline to and the strategy experience to something like Magic the Gathering Arena, but it's a terrible comparison and I need to stop doing it because it is not a card game. It is exactly the Demeo experience but just, you've still got the strategy, right? You're still thinking about every turn. It's maybe 10 to 20 minutes each session. It could be the game that you play to warm up, while you're waiting for everyone to get online to play Demeo, go play Battles with a couple of whoever's there already, right? So, likewise, we know there are folks who have been hesitant to play Demeo because 3 hours feels like a long commitment to dive into a game. I get it. It's hard. If they want to try the experience now in a shorter session, we're going to have something for them this year. So that is the big thing I'm talking about this year as far as new content goes. But that being said, we're not forgetting mainstream Demeo. As we've talked, hand tracking is coming to the Quest platforms, which is really, really exciting. We also, alongside the PlayStation launch that just happened last month, haven't talked about it a lot, but if you look closely, and there's some great comparison videos online, we did kind of do a bit of an up polish on like some of our monster models and things like that. The basement has been renovated, as it were, stuff like that. So, and that has carried over to other versions. It's not just in the PlayStation version, right? So, yeah, we definitely have strong love for the core Demeo experience. But that said, like you said, the original story, the Mad Alvin King saga, has formally come to a close after the 5th chapter. But there is no way this is the last of Demeo you're seeing. It's too much fun to stop. Honest to God, and I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but Demeo is what I do when I'm not working. I genuinely love this game. I think you guys do too, so I know I'm not crazy.
I can't argue this at all.
So something I got to know then before we let you go, because, anybody watching on video can see the booth is packed.
After like the 10-minute mark, I start feeling really bad.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we got computers full, you have Quest headsets in use, you have PSVR 2s in use, so the game's popular. But since you said you use Demeo in your free time, I have to know, which class do you use?
Okay, so this is embarrassing because I know that the whole point of Demeo is what a great co-op experience it is, and it is. But I play in skirmish mode so much that I actually have, I'm going to give you an answer that is a bit of a cheat because it's more than one class. I'm going to tell you when I play skirmish what my 4-pack is, because I've got my old reliable now that I can clear every time with. You've got to start with the Bard. The Bard is your first pick, the first slot, because you want him buffing the minute you drop, right? That is key. And he's going to buff the Barbarian, which is my second slot every time. I'm going to give a great little pro tip that I probably shouldn't give out, and I'm afraid to say it out loud because I don't want the devs to actually patch it. When you are in the, let's call it waiting room, before you actually step on the door to open the dungeon, you can buff in there. You can buff your characters and then go into the dungeon, so you're going to start a little bit with an advantage. It's kind of nice. Nice little pro tip there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I go into the Barbarian, who I love. I love that the Barbarian has this extra reach. Like, I can cover so much land with the Barbarian. It is infuriating to people, though, when I'm playing co-op, because they want to buff my Barbarian, and I'm like, cool, I'm on the other side of the board already. So good luck catching up to me. You're going to want to really figure out some swiftness potion. I also, my Rocksteady from day one has always been our hunter. I love the arrow. It is such a quality weapon in terms of reach, and the damage is there. People always want to use strength potions on like the Barbarian or the Guardian. Stick them on your Ranger, man, because yeah, that's when you're really dealing out damage. And then finally, I close it out with Awana or Warlock, because again, great for ranged attacks. It doesn't feel like it because it's a cat. It's not like the cat has a bow and arrow, but she's safe, right? She's sending out our ass to cat. But yeah, no, Awana's great for that. It also finally gives you another magic user in your party, because the Bard isn't there for its offensive work, really, if we're being real. So when you start getting potions that give you magic buffs and things like that, you want to drop them on Awana. It really, really works out. So yeah, that's my 4-pack. I was not bluffing when I said I played.
No, I was actually going to ask.
Definite pro tips, though.
Yeah, I was going to ask tips, but I think we got that too. I think
we covered that. And I like that he uses the Ranger, because the Ranger is actually always
that's your number one.
Almost in any game that has one. Mm-hmm. Yep. I always grab it because the reach is going to be spot on. Yep. Yeah. And the perks are definitely good as well.
Yeah. And now if it's just us two playing, we each get to control 2. We can save in between levels, so we can go back to it. Demeo's come a long way.
It's a game that keeps on giving, man.
Yeah. So if you're at PAX East this weekend or GDC, definitely check out the Demeo booth.
You can claw through your way to get here. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely popular. But before we let you go, Jim, anything else you want to say about PAX East, or how's Boston treating you in general?
Boston is one of my favorite cities to visit, and I'll tell you why. And I'm sure you guys are from you're Massachusetts, right?
Western Mass.
Yeah, Western Mass. Yeah. About an hour and a half away.
Okay, so you guys are Boston in the same way I'm Toronto. I get it, 100%, 100%. No, so I feel like Boston has this reputation of it's kind of a little rough and tumble, a little this and that. Like, honest to God, the nicest people on the planet are in Boston. I have never met, and maybe I've just had good luck. I don't know. Maybe I'm just meeting the right folks. Maybe the nicest people on the planet are in Boston, Massachusetts.
Look at
That's
that.
awesome.
So
I won't argue that.
yeah, so if you didn't have reason to come to PAX East for next year, now you do. You meet nice
Absolutely.
people. Hopefully we see Resolution here again.
Oh, I'm sure.
And Jim, I'm sure we'll be back at the booth. I'll keep an eye on how things are doing here because
Look to squeeze in sometime.
yeah, I see people walking by. I see the eyes coming through. So good stuff. Thank you for joining us, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, guys.